Hello everyone, hey, good morning and welcome to Morning Verses with Mike. Thank you for getting up early and joining me this morning. Couple quick reminders, I do this every weekday morning at 6:15 a.m. and I would love to have you hop in and join me. I am going to open up my chat room over here. Hey, do me a favor. If you are someone who normally joins me on my personal page, I made sure to list a link so that I would like you to come over and join me on the Morning Verses with Mike page in the chat this morning. I also stream this on the Morning Verses with Mike YouTube page, and I'd love to have you be a participant. So subscribe to the YouTube, go on over to the page, and let's go ahead and connect. So this morning, I am going to be sharing from Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 4. Before we get into that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to share, as I always do, I'm going to be sharing from the New Living Translation of Every Man's Bible. And, I've got it marked here. So, a couple things. I'm wearing my Rise and Grind shirt I didn't get to make it to Rise or GrindCon or Hustle and GrindCon this year, but I hope to next year. And so it's one of those, I realize I kind of, you get in that rhythm, right? Don't you, all the time, where you're doing the same thing, wearing the same thing. So I've always been wearing my MVWM shirts, and I thought, man, it's cold outside, and I need to sometimes be reminded to rise and grind. So shout out to Glenn Lundy for that. If you don't catch his show, #Rise and Grind, you need to check it out. He does it 5:30 Eastern, which is like way too early for me here. I often go back and catch the replays, so I'd make sure and check that out. So this morning, getting into Deuteronomy 24, we are going to be reading from the New Living Translation, Every Man's Bible. I'm going to close this one here too. Every Man's Bible, and the New Living Translation is kind of an updated feel to the verbiage, has some extra study notes here, so let's dive into it. It says, what's this book about? It's Moses' final message to the people. Deuteronomy, it says, what's the point? On your way to a great future, don't ignore the past. Don't ignore it, right? Learn from it, but then head into the future, which I think is always a great saying. So, chapter 20, verse 4, right here reads, gosh, if I can find my spot on the page, sometimes my eyes don't get rolling in the morning. For the Lord your God is going with you. He will fight for you against your enemies, and he will give you victory. You know, this was inspired on Live with Lopes last night. So, Frank, thank you for that, because it was talking about, the tail end, Frank's question was, can you win a Facebook war, right? A battle of keyboards, so to speak. And so this verse, for the Lord your God is going with you. He will fight for you against your enemies, and he will give you victory, rather than using the keyboard. You know, we live in a time when there is so much adversity and frustration, and the consequences of our reality is that there becomes conflict between people, doesn't there? The conflict is absolutely inevitable. It is going to happen. And let me tell you that God expects his people to handle their disagreements biblically and much differently than people that do not follow him. And in Deuteronomy 20, like the whole chapter, we're given several guidelines for resolving conflict, and all of these potential resolutions are through him. I'm just moving to see if I can pull the chat back up here, because I lost it here a minute ago. So we are given these guidelines throughout the chapter, and understand that when you are headed towards battle, when conflict arises, because it's going to arise, right? It's going to happen. You need to use the Lord as your shield. It's not that there's going to be no conflict. The key is that you use him as the shield. You stand behind him in moments of conflict. Still trying to get back into the chat room over here, because I got some fire this morning, man. So now, you might be saying to yourself, right? You might be saying, hey, listen, Mike, I appreciate all that, but I'm not going to have conflict. Why would I'm not going to do battle with somebody? Why would I be going to do battle with someone, right? And all I'm doing is I'm headed to work today. Like after this, it's early enough, I'm headed into work, or maybe you're at work. And then all of a sudden you're stuck behind someone going 20 miles an hour in the fast lane. And at that time, at that moment, you might not be allowing God to work through you. Right? We've all been there. And you're trying to merge, you're trying to get over, and all you're trying to do is get your kids to school. And in that moment, what you need to do, what I encourage you, because at that time, when you're going 20 miles an hour in the fast lane, trying to get over, that person's right there riding in your blind spot. At that moment, you are losing your mind, right? And so that's what I'm talking about, because sometimes you are headed into that battle. And I encourage you to step back for a moment, right? Because in that moment, you know what I'm talking about. And so that's the time. Don't engage. Right? That's what Frank said last night. Don't engage. You step behind the Lord as your shield. Take a moment, say a little prayer, take a breath, right? Instead of trying to merge in front, merge behind the person. Take a breath and use the Lord as your shield. In that moment, speak to him, and he will give you victory of some of those little battles. And you may be saying, Mike, I understand that, but I'm not the road rage kind of person. And you might be saying, I'm not going to do battle. And then guess what happens? You open your Facebook feed. And it's time to tune into today's social media political experts here on Facebook. Does that happen? And before you know it, like it's a war of words and a war of opinions. And there are keyboard warriors everywhere throwing arrows and throwing spears. And they're like, here's the zing, there's my opinion. And whoo, there's another opinion flies by your head. And you're like, oh my gosh, I have to engage. They're lining the turrets of the Facebook castle. They're getting ready to wage war on this landscape. Right? And at that point, you just have to lift up your shield of God and don't engage in that battle. You have to work through him. You have to maintain your faith. You have to stay rooted in what it is that you know is by far the deepest, most important thing in your life. Don't engage the enemy in those instances. So the moral for this morning, I just got the chat thing to come through. So Brian, good morning. I hope your day's started great, man. I've seen a few people come through, and I got numbers up there, but I can't see who it is. So if you're watching live, thank you. Thank you so much. Do me a favor, throw some thumbs up, share the video, right? Share the video, get the verse out, get the share your faith, get the word of God out this morning, because like I said, I'm just all fired up. And the reminder, and I'm on to Deuteronomy chapter 20 verse 4. It's for the Lord your God is going with you. He will fight for you against your enemies, and he will give you victory. And in most instances, we don't assume that we're going into an immediate battle in today's environment, but we're battling things every day. And so you do need to stay very rooted in God. Don't engage the enemy. Use him as your shield. Right? Take a moment to step back, take a breath, say a prayer, hear from him, because he'll tell you, hey, this one, you're not going to want to fight that battle, silly. So the moral is, when you listen to God, he will truly give you victory. And sometimes that victory lies in avoiding the battle. Most times that victory, when it comes to like the battle of opinions, lies in avoiding the battle. So thank you so much for getting up and joining me this morning. I appreciate you. Like I said, do me a favor, click the share button, share the video. Love to get the word out. Share that faith, right? Share the positivity. Share the word with other people. Make sure, come on over, like the Morning Verses with Mike Facebook page. I'm going to try and be broadcasting from there so we can hit that broader audience, more people to share and love and connect with. And you can certainly subscribe to the YouTube. Remember, I do this every Monday through Friday, 6:15 a.m. And until we speak next, I'll tell you what, I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. We'll talk to you soon, everybody. God bless.